A new era of Mississippi State baseball officially begins as Virginia's Brian O'Connor is hired as the next leader of a historic program. We are here breaking down, reacting to the hiring of O'Connor, what it means for Mississippi State baseball moving forward, and the future outlook for the Diamond Dogs. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He is Harrison Fant. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, guys. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. The dust has settled on a coaching search in Starkville as Virginia's Brian O'Connor, one of the legends of the game of college baseball, has officially been named the next head coach in Starkville. We are here reacting to the news, breaking down just what it means for Mississippi State and, of course, the future outlook of one of the SEC's very best programs. As always, guys, I'm Chris Phillips, joined once again by my good friend, Harrison Fant, to break it all down. Harrison, what's up, man? Appreciate you taking the time. And excited to talk about this with you. It was something I kind of feel like we knew for a few weeks. If you kind of had your feel on the pulse, if you will, we had reports out there. This was expected to happen. But obviously with Mississippi State season ending yesterday in Tallahassee, and we can kind of get into the timing of it and sort of the way it went down if you want. But the bottom line is this. We find out yesterday, late last night, I should say, Brian O'Connor takes over as Mississippi State's next head coach. Harrison, appreciate you taking the time. Excited to chat about it with you.
Yeah, always news buzzing around the SEC, whether it's on the diamond or off the field, and this time off the field with a massive head coaching hire at one of the biggest baseball programs and focused, programs on the diamond in Mississippi State, because we adamantly believe that Mississippi State's baseball program is the number one program of number one team at Mississippi State of focus. Yes, football gets the money in the revenue there, but I firmly believe that Mississippi State baseball is the number one program at the school. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's probably the one program, Harrison. They were talking about this too on Squeeze Play yesterday, where it's one of those programs where, not to say obviously that Mississippi State doesn't want to be good at football, good at basketball. They absolutely do. I mean, you and I have taught it's what moves the needle, college football, but baseball really is the crown jewel there, right? You and I were in Hoover talking to Mississippi State baseball fans, and they said it sort of half jokingly, but also half serious, where it's beyond a culture. It's a cult at Mississippi State. Like baseball is truly the crown jewel for them down in Starkville. You obviously have, I would say you've been there firsthand. You'd probably say the most incredible facility in the game, Duty Noble. The dude is unlike any other. So you and I both agree it is a sleeping giant. There is no question. And with the Chris Lemonis era coming to an end, it was obvious that Mississippi State, I think we always knew they were going to go out and get a big-time name. They were going to go out and get a guy who won a national championship. They were going to go out and get a guy who had a pedigree, who had a resume. And boy, did they ever get one. Again, Brian O'Connor, a career record of .917, 388, and 2. He won the 2015 College World Series title, 7 College World Series appearances, 18 NCAA tournament appearances, 9 super regional appearances. He was the 5-time ACC Coach of the Year, 3-time National Coach of the Year. And, oh, by the way, coached 102 MLB draft picks and 31 MLB players developed, this coming via hailstate.com. Harrison, once again, you've got even more of a pulse on the ACC side of things than I do. So, Brian O'Connor, safe to say, I mean, he turned Virginia into a powerhouse in college baseball. And, I mean, there's really no reason why he can't do the same, I think, in Starkville.
Absolutely. I mean, he turned Virginia into, no disrespect, just not a baseball program, just, a program that had a baseball team into a juggernaut in the ACC. I mean, you just read off his biggest accolades. I mean, you could add on to that list on and on and on. I mean, he was runner-up in, was it the 2017 College World Series to Vanderbilt, or 2016, I think it was back-to-back they lost because they beat Vanderbilt one year and then they lost the year before or the year after. But nevertheless, I mean, from nothing into one of the best programs in the country, one of the most stable and consistently dominant programs in the country, let alone the ACC, Chris. And you mentioned it. I mean, I've talked about it for, weeks and probably months now, how probably since middle of the, non-conference schedule, I think how Mississippi State is one of the top programs in the country, one of the biggest focuses of any school is their baseball program. And it's obvious that, everyone can't be the best or elite or, top third of the conference in football. It's just not possible, and it's not sustainable for most programs. Mississippi State has, and should, and will focus on baseball being the core focus. Maybe it's not the revenue, driver that football is, but core focus of, we are a baseball school. The fans know that. They want that. They put the money and time and the effort into the facilities, the upgrades, the players, the coaching staff. Clearly with this hire, a slam dunk hire, one of the best coaches in college baseball. I believe he's the second active wins leader in college baseball.
I think that'd be only probably behind Paul McNary at South Carolina, I believe.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I mean,
certainly one of the top.
Just the fact that what he's done, like I said, at a program like Virginia, just turned nothing into something and recruited players too there, because Virginia, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's easy to recruit in Virginia, but you got to think they have this huge Northeast pipeline that they're recruiting up in the New England kind of area. Imagine what he can get to an SEC program, to a program like Mississippi State, into a fan base in support, NIL, revenue share that's coming up, obviously. And, the collectives that are involved in the NIL, just the support, the expectations, doing the standard at which I think he's going to live up to that. The question for me is, not to jump the gun, but how long does he plan to, coach the rest of his career for? Because he's been a head coach for, almost 3 decades now. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's had one of the best coaching careers of any coach, I think, ever. He's definitely, I think, in the top 10 all time, I'd probably have to say. And, he has no problem recruiting. And, coming with him, obviously, is, another phenomenal coach who's expected to come with him is Kevin McMullen, the associate head coach at Virginia, who spent 22 seasons at Virginia, 19 as the associate head coach. They're basically getting a secondary head coach. I mean, he's been on my and probably several other recruiting hot boards, head coaching hot boards for years now. I think he's one of the best assistant coaches in college baseball. I mean, he's been named as such several times. He's 2-time assistant coach of the year. I mean, he's just one of the best for a reason. And it's just the yang to Brian O'Connor's yin. And just, they're so good together. I mean, he helps develop every player that's come through Virginia since he's been there. And look at what that's been and turned into, and the fruition that those players have developed in beyond Virginia, into the big leagues, into the minor leagues and the big leagues, obviously, like you stated. But I just think it's one of the most, they wanted a big splash. We expected Mississippi State to get a big splash. And I mean, it was an alley-oop and they slam dunked it, Chris. And I mean, to go in further, there's a lot of buzz. And I expect, Wake Forest pitching coach Corey Mascara to end up going with Brian O'Connor to Mississippi State. I think he would be a phenomenal addition. I mean, there's a lot of buzz around him as a head coach. And, Wake Forest head coach Tom Walters has acknowledged that. He's one of the best pitching coaches in the game. I mean, we've seen what he's done in the pitching lab that Wake Forest is. And I think that would be a absolute home run hire as a pitching coach. He was 2023 Division I or D1 baseball assistant coach of the year. I mean, what he's done statistically for a pitching development of a program like Wake Forest, compare that to Mississippi State, what he could do there. I mean, the expectation, the standards obviously so high, but I think the investment and what they could continue to do and build together at Mississippi State, you've got to be jumping out of your shoes if you're Mississippi State fans. And a little worried if you're the SEC, but, excited for the competition because we know that the SEC loves that and thrives on it. And Chris, the SEC just got even tougher.
And I think it goes to show too, Harrison. I mean, for those that, and I think anybody who knows baseball is going to agree with everything you said and agree that it is a, we've said sleeping giant a couple of times. It's a big time program. I mean, think about Brian O'Connor didn't leave some small job or this is a Virginia program that, again, he took to Omaha 7 times, won a national championship at. Virginia became a staple of college baseball. So you knew it was going to take something really special for him to leave. And so I think it speaks to just how big time of a job that is. You mentioned a lot of the movement with the coaching staff, and it will be interesting to see if he does get the pitching coach over from Wake Forest. I agree with you. That'd be a huge hire. I wonder what happens with Justin Parker. I think you got to take a moment to tip the cap to Parker and what he did down the stretch and keeping that team together. And whether it's he stays at Mississippi State in some sort of role or he lands elsewhere, somebody will be getting a really, really good coach. Justin Parker did a really, really good job. Again, holding that thing together. And you and I obviously have known Justin Parker, covered Justin Parker for a decent little bit, going back to his days at South Carolina. Fantastic pitching coach. One of the best, I think, in the game.
Well, definitely one of the best in the pitching coaches in the game, too. And I think if they could keep him in the pitching coaching role, that would be a home run. I mean, we've seen firsthand what he's done with Mississippi State's pitching unit, the statistics, the drastic flip in statistics from, when he got there to where he is, last year to even this year. I mean, it's just night and day of what, he's been able to do and implement his philosophy. I'm not sure if it's going to happen. It's Chris, we talked about this off air. I think it was really handled kind of poor tastefully. There's, rumors and leaks, the Mississippi State plane on the way to, Charlottesville while Mississippi State's playing, it's coming back right after, and not even it was just over an hour, maybe after the game, they announced the head coaching.
It's like 30 minutes.
that for me, that scratches me the wrong way. Honestly, and I'm not in that room. I'm not the one making the decision on that, but that just kind of, that's tough. I mean, I think I don't think it does, Justin Parker, right with what he did, stepping in the shoes as a head coach, and, what he was able to do in just, 2 months, maybe. I mean, I just was not expecting that. I was kind of expecting that to be a today thing, but I don't know. It was kind of weird for me.
Yeah, the timing was weird. It was like I told you and Jake in our group text. I'm so used to that type of stuff happening behind closed doors in the football side of things that I wasn't totally shocked, but I see where you're coming from the standpoint of there's not a lot of consideration for that team that's still trying to achieve something, in this season. And granted, again, that would have made a difference would they have still lost to Florida State? Yeah, probably so, but I understand where you're coming from. I want to go back to what you said too, Harrison, because again, I mean, Brian O'Connor, we don't have to beat a dead horse here. The guy's a legend of college baseball. You look at the track record, it absolutely just speaks for itself. I think what's got to really excite you too about as a Mississippi State fan, and this is all per sources, obviously, stuff we've seen on social media, but you would expect it to come with this, the investment that I think is coming along with Brian O'Connor. And we've heard there's going to be a significant NIL push, and you and I both know, Harrison, you can have a legendary head coach, but if you don't have the investment from the rest of the program, the fans, the collectives, the revenue sharing, how you're divvying that up, whatever it is, it's still going to be very, very difficult. Like if you're not all in across the board, it's going to be very difficult to win at a high level. It sounds like they're going to be getting that. And again, it is a place, though, where I'm not surprised in saying that, because if they've got the right guy and a guy they believe in, I mean, the support's going to come from every direction. There's no lack of it. I think when you look at the two programs, this is not like trying to trash Virginia, but I'm sure for Brian O'Connor, one of the things that stood out, I think record crowds for them at UVA were like maybe getting close to 6,000 people. Dude, he's going to be playing in front of like 14,000 at the Duke
every weekend.
Every SEC weekend. So, listen, I do agree with you. I think the rest of the SEC put on high alert. I've talked to many others. We've talked to many others that are not affiliated with Mississippi State that will tell you straight up that, I mean, there's coaches across this league that think really highly of the job, think really highly of the program, what it can be. And I'm just really, my question is, Harrison, is not, are they going to win? It's how quickly are they going to win, right? I think you're going to see them obviously be really, really active in the portal. We've seen guys from Virginia entering the transfer portal. Do they go to Mississippi State? I don't know. But I think State's going to be one of the biggest players, if not the biggest player this offseason when it comes to portal moves and additions. And, I mean, dude, I don't see any reason why he can't win right away. And, again, it's a scenario that's a lot different than what happened, I want to point out, in Columbia, South Carolina, because you talk about, like, legends of the game. Brian O'Connor hadn't been retired for 3 years and then jumped back in the game of baseball. He's obviously still been doing it. He's won in the NIL era. He's won in the portal era. So I don't think that's something you're really concerned with. And again, like you said, now he's only going to have more of those resources. I think you phrased it beautifully, Harrison. I think it's a home run hire, no pun intended. And I think Hail State, the M over S, is going to get back to winning big a lot sooner rather than later. So, and again, I think a lot of it coming from that push of the support of having a guy they believe in that's been there, done that. And it's no disrespect to Chris Lemonis and what he did, bringing the program its first national championship. But this is absolutely, it'll never be forgotten, obviously, and it shouldn't. But this is absolutely an elevation in profile of who's leading the program. And again, the rest of the SEC better take notice because the dogs are coming.
Yeah, I want to expand more on the two things that you mentioned that I was about to mention, if you didn't, about, he's coached through the beginnings and ongoings of NIL, not just coming back into the game, like you said, with Paul Mary to the NIL. I mean, he's obviously a more old school head coach than, a more, revolutionized, modern young buck coming up in the game, like some really good coaches that are around the game right now. he's kind of adapted it and had to adapt to it, but differently than how an SEC program would, let alone Mississippi State, than Virginia would, because of the NIL investment, the kind of the collectives that are building around college baseball programs, around universities as a whole, obviously, but ones that are focused on college baseball programs. And, just I think the financial investment alongside of, there's obviously personal decisions that go into this of, family, from extended family to, their personal inner core family. That's obviously a decision that I don't think people take into account as much, because, Brian O'Connor's been on the head coaching, hey, he would be a great guy if we can go get him for what, 5-7 years now, at least. He's on there every year, it feels like. But like you said, with that, I think obviously Mississippi State's going to attack the portal. The question is, what do they get from the portal? How much of Brian O'Connor's, players, how many of them come with him and make the move? I'm looking at the portal right now. Henry Ford's in the portal. He's number 2 in 6'4" analytics ranks. Tomas Valencias is number 3 in their ranks. Evan Blanco is number 6 ranked. He's in the portal. Bradley Hodges, he's in the portal, number 12 ranked. James Nunnally, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, he's 20th ranked in the portal. The list goes on. Trey Wells, he's number 303 in the portal. Chone James, Matt Augustine, they're all in the portal. Obviously, when your head coach, leaves, I think you open your options up and see what's out there. You explore, right? But, there's obviously going to be conversations about, hey, would that be the right fit to go with them? Hey, do you want to come with me? I think this would be a great fit for you. There's obviously those conversations that go on, that it's more than just following your head coach or following money, that I think that most fans don't think about as much as they should. A lot of the behind the scenes things that, I'm trying to be more in on the loop in and involved in, and, at the core and the front of, but you can't ever predict things perfectly to go as expected. That's one of the biggest things that, everyone's like, oh, he would look great in this uniform. You love to see it on Twitter. It's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of decisions that go into it. Because we've seen guys, for example, like Chase Burns, right? Transfer to Wake Forest. People are like, why is he leaving? And then Tennessee wins national championship. I saw a quote that Chase Burns said, he was super happy for him. He couldn't be more happy for them. Obviously he'd love to win a national championship, but he said, it was great. It was the best thing, I think, for my development and, for wanting to get to the big leagues and having a 10, 15-year career in big leagues. Speaking of which, he transferred to Wake Forest, like I said. Corey Mascara, the Wake Forest pitching lab. There's a lot of factors go into it, but I'm excited to see what Brian O'Connor does immediately in year one in all facets of the head coaching realm. But Chris, I do think in some regards going to be compared to Jim Slosnagle in year one at Texas. I think that that's something that, people are going to, Texas fans are going to look at and be like, side eye. But I think a lot of people are going to, at Mississippi State, and be like, hey, like, if he can do it 1 year, why can't Brian O'Connor? So that's one thing to keep note of. And it's not easy. It's not. Let alone going to a new school, new conference, new state, new recruiting pipeline, everything. I don't think that Mississippi State fans can jump the gun and say, oh, we better be in Omaha next year. We better host, be in a super, host a regional. I think, yeah, you can have expectations. Like, I think they should have an expectation of, hey, we should host a regional next year. That's our goal. And that's kind of like our floor goal. But it takes time, and the pieces have to work in perfectly. It's like a puzzle. You got to fit them together. And you got to find the pieces and put them in, Chris. And it's going to take time. And Brian O'Connor is one of the best in the game at doing so. So I'm excited to see what happens with the program in year one, even pre-year one, Chris, going into the rest of the summer and the fall, and what the expectations are going into spring once January comes around for 2026 and beyond then, because college baseball is great. College baseball is really good when Mississippi State fans are enjoying it. The atmosphere when Mississippi State's good. I think when the SEC is thriving, in just the noise like this is, the game is growing so much, so exponentially. And I love to see it. And I know we're here we enjoy covering and talking about it as much as we can.
Yeah, I think the expectation, Harrison, for year one for him looking way too far ahead, because we don't even know what the roster is going to look like. And I don't blame him. I think the expectation at State every year is when you have a facility like that, you want to be hosting regionals there. Like, you want to be playing your postseason baseball at home.
From 5,500 at Virginia to 10K plus in a weekend, yeah.
Yeah, so, I will say this, and I think you make a good point. There's no guarantees in this game. Look at the postseason this year. There's no guarantees in this game. You never know what's going to happen in this game. But for what Mississippi State, where they're trying to get back to, what they're trying to accomplish, who they're trying to be as a program and who they feel like they are and should be, I don't think they could have hired anyone better. I don't think in this coaching cycle, who's available, who they could have went and got. You tell me, Harrison. I don't think you would have found anyone who I think is more well-equipped and who has been there, done that, who has won at the highest level. I think he checks all the boxes. So, I mean, I think the expectation from State fans will be to win immediately. I agree with you, expecting Omaha in year one be a little over the top because it's very, very hard to get there, believe it or not. College baseball fans, again, look at the postseason this year. But
example
I don't think they could have done any better with this coaching hire. I'm excited to see it play out. Like I said,
I'm curious to see Chris. You know, obviously he's had some really good opening statements, but I'm curious to see like what the pay structure is like for him and then the assistant coaches around him, with who comes with him, and then how much money that I don't want to say of that, but like after that is focused on NIL and the things and kind of the circles of that. Because I haven't seen anything yet, but we'll see. And that'll come out. So some of it will come out, obviously, but excited to see kind of what that looks like as well.
Harrison, before we get out of here, let's get into a few comments, some interesting nuggets from some of the State fans and others in here. Sven says he is now the second highest paid head coach behind Tony Vitello. So,
is there a salary that was released?
I guess a salary has been released. We also know, by the way, again, our State people keeping us in the loop. His introduction is Thursday, 7 p.m. at the Dude. Biggest crowd ever in Virginia was 5,500 people. Guess we can top that on Thursday. Easy, 10,000 minimum is what they're expecting at his introduction. You know that Mississippi State fans will show up without. By the way, shout out our guy Robbie Falk, who does a great job covering Mississippi State. Says, see you boys, the Dude, next spring. Two brothers wings on me. Robbie
Falk, I'm sold.
Yeah, getting to the Dude will be a must for us, and we will be making it happen. You can put it in pen. Harrison and myself will be at the Dude for an SEC weekend next week.
I've got to experience the lofts. That's the thing I haven't done there yet. Yes. I haven't walked through all the facilities yet, but I want to do that and then experience the lofts as well. So
yeah, we got to get the full experience. I want to shout out our guy, by the way, Joshy Manning. This is Texas unrelated, obviously, but he said he'd be here. There was a bet with me because I picked UTSA to win the regional. He said that if that pick came true, he would take care of us with a super chat, $19.99 super chat. Thank you, Joshy Manning. Appreciate it.
Hey, man of his word.
And listen, I say this, Joshy, I hated to be right. I didn't want to be right there.
Hey, Chris, speaking of money, though, Brian O'Connor's salary at Virginia is $1.4 million. So it's going to be probably at least that to get him to leave. But I'd expect probably closer to $2 million. Yeah. I haven't seen anything official about what it is, but.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. They're going to take care of him. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. He's getting a pay raise. Again, Mississippi State, they have a guy they believe in. They're not going to be scared to spend money. Obviously, they did that to get him there. Harrison, any other closing thoughts, remarks? Again, I think you and I agree, simply put, and to summarize this conversation, Mississippi State baseball hit a home run, and it'll be only a matter of time before the Dogs are back in Omaha. I feel strongly about that.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State got a fastball down the middle, Chris. Absolutely pieced it up, smashed a home run into the lofts in left field, over the big green eggs and everything around the outfield wall of Mississippi State. And just, you can't be more ecstatic about this hire. You got to be on the edge of your seat to see who are the pieces around him, players and assistant coaches that come, because you got to expect the best from one of the best. And he is one of the best coaches in college baseball. And the future of Mississippi State baseball is brighter than maybe it's been in recent years. And I know Hail State fans are eager to get out there in the fall to watch fall practice and get back out to the Dude come February 2026. And I know we are too, Chris.
A new era beginning in Starkville. Brian O'Connor, the next head coach of Mississippi State. Guys, we'd love to hear your thoughts, your reactions. Great move. What do you think? We'd love to hear what you think in the future of Hail State as well. How are you thinking the Brian O'Connor era goes down there in Stark Vegas? Guys, before we get out of here, I do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because it's always brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The wait is over. Baseball season's finally here, and you can start the season strong on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now FanDuel is celebrating the return of baseball by giving new customers $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel's got so many ways for you to get in on the action, from hits to steals to homers. They've got a lineup filled with all your favorite bets, or if pitching is more of your thing, FanDuel's got a deep bullpen of bets from strikeouts to shutout innings. So when you place your first bet, it can be on almost anything, and if it hits, you'll get $250 in bonus bets. Guys, all of the postseason baseball, from any of the remaining regional action to super regionals, all the way to Omaha, you can place your bets with us over at FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com FanDuel.com/SECU. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official partners of Major League Baseball. Guys, I'm Chris Phillips. He's Harrison Fant. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Harrison Fant, I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate you all tuning in. We will catch you all on the other side.